Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack a genuinely fascinating piece of ancient writing called the Gospel of Truth. But right off the bat, I want you to forget whatever you might be expecting from a typical, dusty historical document. We are definitely not looking at some dry list of ancient rules today. What we have here is honestly a thrilling cosmic drama. It's this epic, mythic narrative all about the ultimate battle between knowledge and ignorance, and it plays out on a massive universal scale. I'm talking a hidden mystical book, a sinister antagonist, and a full-blown cosmic rescue mission.
Just listen to the visceral imagery the author uses right out of the gate here. Ignorance of the Father brought terror and fear, and the terror became thick like fog so that no one could see. Wow, this striking image just instantly plunges us into the core problem of this entire text. Try to imagine an entire universe completely clouded by a terrifying, impenetrable fog of amnesia. In this story, humanity isn't inherently evil. Rather, we're just completely lost in this thick mist, utterly unable to see our own origins or understand where we actually came from.
Section 1. The Origin and the Father.
So the absolute crucial starting point is how the text defines the ultimate source, which it calls the Father. Now, he is described as entirely boundless and incomprehensible. So we're not talking about a human-like figure sitting on a cloud. It's this all-encompassing reality that literally contains everything within itself. In fact, everything originated inside the Father. But here's the fascinating paradox the text presents. Even though this source is perfect and lacks absolutely nothing, there is one single thing it actively desires. It wants to be known and loved by its creations. Because everything originated inside this incomprehensible space, while everything lacked the vital knowledge of where they actually came from.
Moving on to Section 2. The Birth of Error and Forgetfulness. Now, the author doesn't just treat this ignorance as some empty, abstract void. Instead, it's brilliantly personified as an actual character called error. And error is a living, material illusion. It was born directly out of that terrifying fog of ignorance we were just talking about. And let me tell you, error is incredibly busy. It acts like an active architect, constantly building a false material reality to replace the truth, and actively working to trap humanity in a permanent state of forgetfulness and panic. It's a really unique antagonist.
But hey, don't overestimate this villain. Look at this stark contrast the author sets up. Error creates what's called the shape of lies. It's rootless, it's fog-like, and it's created in vain panic. Error is working really hard, but it's ultimately making something out of nothing. On the flip side, we have the truth. Truth is described as unchangeable, unshaken, and completely beautiful. So, despite error's hard work in creating this flashy material illusion to deceive people, the text insists it is absolutely nothing compared to the unshakable reality of truth. Error is really just an empty mist trying to hide a mountain.
Section 3. The Savior and the Living Book.
Okay, here is the ultimate weapon in this cosmic drama, the living book. Now, this isn't an ordinary physical book you'd pull off a shelf. According to the text, it was written in the Father's mind before creation even happened. It was kept entirely hidden inside his incomprehensible nature, kind of like a secret will or testament. And crucially, it was reserved strictly for one specific hero, the one who will take it and be killed. Furthermore, every single letter in this book isn't just a symbol on a page. Every letter is perfect, living truth. It's literally the exact antidote to error's fog.
All right, Section 4. The Cross as the Fruit of Knowledge.
The text actually maps out the exact steps of this rescue mission. Step 1, the Savior arrives. And he doesn't come as some conquering warrior, but as a quiet, calm guide appearing right in the middle of a school. Step 2, those who think they're wise try to test him, but he systematically breaks through their illusions and completely shames them as empty-headed. Step 3, he steps up and claims that hidden living book as his own. And finally, Step 4, because error is absolutely terrified and enraged by this truth, the Savior is nailed to the cross. He takes the Father's decree, the actual truth of the book, and pins it right there on the cross.
And right here is one of the most fascinating twists in the entire text. Just think about the traditional Garden of Eden story we all know, right? Where eating the fruit from the tree brings destruction and this massive fall from grace. Well, this text completely inverts it. Here, the Savior on the cross literally becomes the fruit of knowledge, and the text explicitly says that eating this fruit does not destroy you. No way! On the contrary, consuming this knowledge brings immense joy and discovery. It is the ultimate enlightenment that just pierces right through the fog of error.
Section 5. The Awakening of Those Who Know.
The text uses this really beautiful metaphor of the alphabet to explain this awakening process. On one hand, you have ordinary letters, just regular vowels and consonants. When we read them, the text says we're really just thinking empty thoughts. But the letters of the living book, which is the knowledge brought by the Savior, are completely different. They are written by the hand of unity. When you encounter these letters, you aren't just doing some empty reading, you are encountering perfect, living truth. It shows that true knowledge isn't about memorizing facts. It's a profound awakening to a higher reality.
So what does this all mean for us? Well, the crucial point is the ultimate contrast in human fates. The text divides humanity into two distinct experiences. First, you have the ignorant, who remain completely unnamed. Because they never realize they're wandering in a fog, they just remain creatures of forgetfulness. And when the illusion of error eventually vanishes, well, they simply perish with it. But then, look at the knowing. This is where it gets incredibly profound. The knowing don't just learn a bunch of facts. They actually hear their specific names called from above by the Father. They awaken, they answer that call, and they return home to the source.
And finally, Section 6, the end of forgetfulness and eternal joy.
The author uses a highly accessible, almost surprisingly modern metaphor right here. It describes the awakening process like someone sobering up from being drunk. Imagine that exact feeling of suddenly returning to your senses, shaking off the stupor, and remembering who you are and what belongs to you. That's what it's like. The word descends like light, completely dissolving the fog of error once and for all. The darkness is illuminated, the dust is brought to life by breath, and everything that was lost is drawn back up into the endless, incomprehensible fullness of the Father. Forgetfulness just simply ends, and eternal joy begins.
Which leaves us with a pretty heavy, incredibly provocative thought for today's explainer. This entire text really centers on this beautiful mystical idea that true knowledge isn't something you actively hunt down in the material world. Actually, it's simply waking up to hear your own name being called by the source of all things. So when we look at the noise and the fog of our own modern lives, it really begs the question, if our true names are being spoken from above, are we actually quiet enough to hear them? Think about that for a bit as we wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the cosmic drama of the Gospel of Truth.